Peace, peace. Welcome back. Assalamu alaikum to the Muslim viewers and listeners. Welcome back to another week, episode, audio essay, whatever you want to call it, of M.A.B.I.A, Muslim and Black in America. I'm your host, Bilal Abdullah, back again. It's been a good week for me, man. I'm working a lot more, so the audio essays, they may come less frequently. I don't know yet. It just depends how me working these extra hours going to affect my body, and affect my sleep pattern and affect my work. So hopefully, inshallah, I can still keep getting, these lectures, audio essays out to y'all. I like doing this. This is something I love to do. And, if you like it, if you gain some information and knowledge from this, then drop something in the bucket for your boy. I got the link in the description for the Cash App. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And, hopefully y'all week will be great this week too. I continue to make dua for the Muslims all across the globe. And I hope you are as well. And the Quran says, "And never will the Jews or the Christians approve of you until you follow their religion. Say, indeed, the guidance of Allah is the only guidance. If you were to follow their desires after what has come to you of knowledge, you would have against Allah no protector or helper." That is Surah 2, verse 120. How many times do I have to keep telling y'all? This democracy is their game. It's their rules. And you can't win? Sorry, Ilhan Omar is in the news for calling out AIPAC and their lobbying. And although what she said was correct and factual, she has been called an anti-Semite because of it. I told y'all I saw this coming. At first, they were low-key claiming she was getting a bit too uppity when she would respond to her detractors with confidence and wit. Once I saw them basically saying that about her, I knew what was coming next. See, she was just used as a tool of white supremacists to give the illusion of inclusion. She's a Muslim, she's black, wow, diversity. And she and her ego kind of fell for it. Maybe she was sincere and really wanted to try to help her community, but she was quite naive to believe that she could be a hijab-wearing Somali woman, and an outspoken one at that, and that things would go well. When you're of that accord, you should already know that politics is not for you. Like somebody like Malcolm X, he knew that getting into the political game wasn't for him. He spoke on politics and things of that nature, but he knew that that wasn't the place for him. This is why I quoted the Quranic verse. They will not be pleased with her until she takes off her hijab. You see how at first they were complaining about that? They will not be pleased with her until she is a good, safe Negro and not too uppity. She even tried to save face with that photo op with that Caucasian baby where she was playing Mammy. It didn't work because they will not be pleased with her until she totally gives up whatever is left of her deen. Her hijab represents that, and her constant speaking out on the hypocrisy and injustices of the so-called state of Israel represents that. So she is being claimed to be an anti-Semite for stating facts about how AIPAC funds politicians, and in return the politicians give their support of Israel. This is not anti-Semitic to say this. And how can this sister be anti-Semitic when she is a Semite herself? A Semite was a name used since the 1770s to refer to the language, the language family currently present in West Asia, North and East Africa, and the Arab areas, which used to be considered Africa, some parts of it. So how is this Somali woman not a Semite? And she says she is a Muslim, and Islam is a Semitic religion. So it's obvious she's not an anti-Semite. The original Semites are black. But this is, the dog whistle language they use when someone is calling out their religious white supremacy. It's like when a black person in America starts talking too much about white supremacy, and then the white supremacists start screaming out, "Reverse racism." How? And I got into a little back and forth with a brother on Twitter about, he was saying how Zionism is the real issue and the real problem. And I said, that's still the mindset of white supremacy. It's just religious white supremacy. Because I said, you could be a Zionist and be black, but you're never going to be a tippy top Zionist unless you're white. So it's still within that, there's still white supremacy and still racism. The one of the main issues, like I've been telling y'all, one of the main issues that Satan, Iblis, Lucifer, one of the main issues that he put into this world, put into the minds of the people, was racism. Because like I said, he was jealous of Adam, because Adam was a black man created from clay, and Allah said, this man is going to be better than you. And Shaitan was like, but I'm made from fire. How is he better than me? So that whole racism issue started with Satan. So he uses that against us now. So one of the main problems in the world is racism. Allah tells us that we from the human race, and that he created us different races and colors so that we can have our own tribes and we can know who's who, but also so that we can work together in harmony. So this is where many of these issues in the world come from. It starts with a lot of it with racism, but this is what I was mean about Ilhan. They will not be pleased with her until she submits and just gives up. And even if she apologizes and gives up speaking truth to power against oppressive regimes, they will still not respect her. And even then, they will have more lack of respect for her because she gave up her stances and strong beliefs. So this is what's going to happen. And I think just recently she might have apologized in a slight way. So, like I said, either she's going to apologize and play the safe Negro role, or she will keep her strong stance and they will find a way to get her out of here. You already have 45 calling for her resignation, which is amazing given what's going on with these other politicians who are in blackface and getting caught out there. But he's not calling for their resignation, but we know why. But like I said before, when you want to get up in the political arena of America, they always have something on you. If you don't, just in case you don't want to play by their rules. With Ilhan, they are now bringing out how she married her own brother to be able to bring him over here to the United States. Now, I don't know how true this is. Ilhan says it's untrue though, but they can make anything look true. From the videos I've seen, it's looking kind of sketchy though. It's the same with the brother down in Virginia, Justin Fairfax. He's being called to resign for alleged sexual assaults. It's funny how that comes up after black people were calling for Ralph Northam to resign for his blackface pictures. They always have something over your head. This is how stuff works to keep people in check and in line. And if they don't have something over your head, then they will just create a situation. Which is one reason I don't really agree for us Muslims to participate too deeply involved with politics. I understand observing and critiquing and commenting on what's going on is one thing, but to get deeply involved where you're actually becoming a politician, I don't think that's right. I don't agree with that. And speaking of Muslims getting involved in things, I know y'all heard about the young Muslim who went over to join ISIS when she was 15, and now she wants to come back to the UK. She's pregnant, but actually she already had her child in one of the asylum camps, refugee camps that she's living in now. She says, I was just a housewife over there. I didn't do anything dangerous. That's wild. It's Muslims on both sides having sympathy for her. Some saying she was brainwashed and should be able to return to the UK. Others don't feel sorry for her at all and say she shouldn't be able to return until she repents. I'm just kind of in between. Yes, she's our sister, but she's in the wrong. She's in the wrong. We condemn ISIS and we condemn all forms of terrorism, whether they are done by Muslims or even our own government. I condemn it all. So she knows what she did was serious, because she made it a point to say that she didn't do anything dangerous, or that and that she was just a housewife. And the UK government is not really going to accept that excuse. My stance is really, it's up to the UK if she'll be able to come back. But if she does come back, they're going to put her in jail. And she's not saying she shouldn't be put in jail. But she should expect that. She should be expecting to go to jail for many years, or they may try to harm her in some way. But Allah knows best. But this is why you need to constantly research what's going on. Just last week, I spoke about how the feds basically created a fake college to entrap illegal immigrants. Some of these immigrants who didn't research good enough found out the hard way that it was a trap, and now they're going through court, jail, and all types of issues because they ran off and joined this fake school. In the same way, you the Muslim, you need to research these groups out here. Me, after researching this group ISIS, I began to see that similar to this fake school setup, this group was set up. It was set up by the U.S. government along with so-called Israel to destabilize the region of Syria so that they could topple Bashar al-Assad or at least keep a military presence there. Also, Syria does have oil. Syria has precious jewels as well. So this group was also set up to catch Muslims like this sister and put them in jail. You know, they know how you feel out there when you see your Muslim brothers and sisters being oppressed. So they set up these fake terrorist groups and call people to join, and some people fall for it. That's why I say, be careful, y'all. Do your due diligence and research these groups. This fake news, fake groups, fake schools has been going on for years and years, thousands of years. I mean, we can even go back to the time of Pharaoh and Musa. Yes, even Musa had to deal with quote-unquote fake news. I really hate using that term, but that was a dope term that 45 coined because people be putting out fake news. But when Musa came to Pharaoh and told him to let the children of Israel leave with him because Pharaoh had oppressed them, Musa said, you know, I'm a prophet from Allah. Pharaoh said, I'm Allah. That's what the Pharaoh said. But Musa told him, okay, well, since you Allah, then bring the sun up right now. And you see that the sun rises in the east, make it look like it's rising up from the other direction. And Pharaoh felt defeated, but he pressed on. He said, well, bring your proof. You know, we'll have a big gathering to see who wins. So the magicians, they brought a whole bunch of magicians for Pharaoh. And the magicians on that big day of gathering, they cast spells on the eyes of the people and befooled their eyes and intellect and made them think that the ropes that they threw down were actual snakes and moving around. This is the same thing they do today. The news media, when in the wrong hands, are basically the magicians of this time. They befool the eyes of the people, the intellect of the people, into believing what they say is truth is the truth, when in actuality it's falsehood. Another example is 9/11. We know all of the facts, not conspiracy, but we know the facts surrounding that event. Yet the media will keep hammering into your mind that no, it's not how you think it went. But only those who actually research and use their minds, and when it starts coming to these last days, those who also have spiritual insight of the believer will see through the magic, will see through the lies. When the magicians threw down their ropes and fooled the eyes of the people, Musa became kind of apprehensive. But Allah told him in Surah 20, verse 68, fear not, you're the one who's superior. You know, in the next verse, Allah told him to throw down his staff and it will swallow up the little ropes that they put magic on, because his staff turned into a real actual snake. It was a python, a huge python, and it moved fast and it was all black. And Allah tells us something important in this verse. He says, what they have crafted is but the trick of a magician, and the magician will not succeed wherever he is. And Musa also said in Surah 10, verse 81, he told them, what you have brought is magic, and Allah will surely make it of no effect. He goes on to say, Allah will establish and make apparent the truth by his words, even though you may hate it. These magicians of today that control the media, and even the real magicians who practice magic, Allah says they will not be successful. And Allah says the truth will be established whether they like it or not. So when you ask for Allah's guidance and you do your research, you do your due diligence, Allah will reveal the truth to you. And whatever plot these magicians had will be of no avail. Speaking of fake news and lies, I know y'all heard about the Jussie Smollett situation. It now has come out that this story was pretty much a hoax. He paid some black Nigerian dudes to attack him so that he could allegedly keep his role in the show Empire. The police have concluded that he was not attacked by Trump supporters or Caucasian males or anything like that. What's crazy is that this story was used to push this whole homophobia stuff, as well as they passed the anti-lynching bill through the U.S. Senate, and it's on its way to becoming law. So basically, this bill was supposed to be for black people, right? For us, right? The black folks of America who have had to deal with and still deal with lynching to this day. Yet, it has been co-opted by the LGBT community, particularly the white LGBT community, which shows that this bill will help their group and the white people of that group more so than us. Because just last week, I think there was a hanging, and the media didn't speak up about that. That was a lynching, and it was ruled as a suicide. They always rule suicides. They always rule hangings as suicides, but the man's hands were tied behind his back. And then we had the murder of Tamala Horsford in Cummings, Georgia. She was found face down in the front yard. She was supposed to be having an all-woman slumber party for the mothers of the young football players on the team. She was the only black woman at that party, and she turned up dead. Yet we heard nothing about it in the media. That's a lynching. So we know who this bill is for. It's not really for us. And they already done made lynching illegal before this bill. So, and let's not forget that Ed Buck is still out and about after two black men have popped up dead at his house. And yet he is still out here with another black male fun buddy. But he's not being brought up on charges. He's not being questioned or nothing like that. Yet that anti-lynching bill isn't being spoken of when in relation to these type of things. So we're being pushed this fake story. And then you have to wonder who is really behind this fake story. Did Jussie think of this idea himself to stay on the show, or was there another unseen hand that pushed this idea on him so that it can be used? I mean, look who we saw hopping on this wave quickly, Kamala and Cory Booker. To me, it sounds like a money grab too, because once they push this fake story, and then you have all these other LGBT fundraising groups coming out and asking for money. So everybody's going to give these groups money, and then these groups in turn are going to give that money. It's like AIPAC. Then these groups in turn is going to give all that money that they got off this fake story. They're going to give all that money to people who support their movement, like Kamala Harris, like Cory Booker. So it's just a money grab to dish it back out. With the help of social media, I'm starting to see that we definitely have begun to have more patience. We have to have more patience when it comes to stories in the media. I'm noticing now that stories will come out and get the people to have one strong emotional reaction off top, and people will start writing whole dissertations about it and their stance on it. Then days later, the story will reveal that what was first told to us wasn't true, and now everyone's emotions are swayed in a whole nother direction. So let's first hear the whole story. And I know it's difficult sometimes, because a lot of times it'll be something real emotional and real tragic, and you want to jump and say something because they're playing with your heartstrings. It's similar to how some people read only part of the Quran and think they found contradictions or found things wrong with it. But the Quran is a whole book, and no one should read, and a person should read the whole book before coming to a conclusion. And this is why many stories are repeated in the Quran. But each time the story is repeated, you get a little bit more info on that story thrown in. It is to keep you reading the whole book and to get the whole story. And one story in the Quran that proves this is the story of Musa and Al-Khidr. Al-Khidr was a knowledgeable person from Allah, whom Allah gave him knowledge about many future events. Some say he was a prophet, some say he wasn't. That's not important. But He was a knowledgeable person whom Allah gave knowledge about many future events. And so the law that he practiced was different from Musa's, and his actions were based on the future. So Musa wanted to learn from him, but Al Khidr told him, "You won't be able to have patience with me. And the reason you won't be able to have patience with me is because you don't have full knowledge of the future things like I do." And Musa, like many of us with good hearts, they want to enjoin the good and forbid the evil. So it was hard for him to have patience with not speaking on something when he saw it as wrong in his eyes. But Khidr, like I'm trying to tell you all to be patient and wait for as much information as you can on it before saying something, he told Musa the same thing. He said, "Look, you can roll with me. You can get knowledge from me. You can learn from me under one condition, that when you see me doing certain things, don't say anything about it. And later on, I will explain everything to you at the end of our journey." But Musa couldn't keep his patience. Khidr put a hole in a poor man's boat and made it sink. And Musa jumped up and said, What are you doing? This poor man needed this boat, and now he can't make any money because you destroyed it." Then they came to a town, and a wall was getting ready to collapse. And even though the people of the town were rude to them and didn't feed them, Khidr still fixed the wall. Musa jumped up again and said, What are you doing? These people were rude to us. And since they were rude to us, they should have paid us to fix this wall, or at least apologize first for being rude. Finally, they came to a family, and Al Khidr killed their son. And Musa, that was like the last straw for Musa. He got mad. He said, "How dare you kill an innocent child?" Khidr told him, "Look, man, we're done with this journey. I told you that you wouldn't be able to have patience with me because my law is based on the future events that Allah allows me to see. You don't have the knowledge of those things." So Al Khidr finally explained the things that he did to him. Al Khidr said, "The reason I put that hole in the man's ship is because there was a tyrant on the sea with a huge ship, and he would come around and seize any boat and its people wherever he caught them. So in order to save this old poor man from more oppression, I messed up his ship so that he only would have to patch up the hole and he could go back out another time when this tyrant had passed by. With the wall, there was a treasure under that wall that a righteous man buried under it for his children. And I didn't want the wall to fall and those who were not deserving of it to find it and take it. And with the little boy you saw me kill, he was going to grow up and leave Islam and become an oppressor and tyrant to his parents, and possibly cause his parents to leave Islam as well. So in order to save them, I took his life, and they in turn will have a righteous son after him. So in times of confusion and lies, let us make sure to be patient and do our due diligence before reacting. And nowadays we have what we didn't have when we were young coming up, and that's the internet. This is a tool that should be used to constantly research, and if one still makes a mistake, then the person should admit their mistake and not try to cover it up or do some types of leaps of words to make it look like they didn't say what they said. That's because that's that politician double speak serpent talk, and don't do that. If you're wrong, just say you're wrong. And speaking of serpents and politicians, the Senate committee says there was no collusion between Russia and 45. Now, you expect me to believe that? All of them people that went to jail around him, and I'm supposed to just believe that? I don't. We already know the white supremacists are all up in government, so that verdict doesn't surprise me at all. And now 45 has called a national emergency to get funding for the wall, and immediately many states have sued him for doing so. This is real dangerous. It lets me know that in reality, this whole presidency thing is almost damn near a dictatorship with the feeling of us having control. We all know that that's not national emergency worthy. Like I said, it's dangerous because that sets a precedent for the next presidents to come, and they could do the same for whatever they wish. Hell, if that's the case, a president need to come in and declare a national emergency for the American descendants of slaves and say, Because of this emergency, slavery, Jim Crow, redlining, lynchings that still go on today, the wealth gap that was created because of such things, because of this emergency, I want to take those funds and give 20 trillion in reparations to American descendants of slaves. It would be cash, grants, housing grants, land, business grants, etc. I bet you them white supremacists' head would explode here or something like that. But remember last week I was talking to y'all more about magic and all of that stuff and how people are getting into that more. I know it's late, but recently Patriots won the Super Bowl. I didn't watch it. And Tom Brady had an interview and they were asking him about his wife and how she prepares him for a game or something like that. You could look the interview up. Mind you, this dude is supposed to be a Christian. He says his wife has an altar built with pictures of him and his kids and candles and crystals, and she asks that he plays good and wins and is safe, etc. Like, my eyes bugged out. How don't you see that this is magic? Tommy, you're a Christian allegedly. How don't you see this? You know what? I know why you don't see it. Because in today's time, it's not many sincere Christians out there. Many use this as a cover to do such things as this. It's similar to what people do in different religions, In Judaism, you have those who use it as a cover and they start practicing Kabbalah and all kinds of types of magic. Even in Islam, you have those who use Islam as a cover and then they'll go into extreme Sufism and then they'll start talking to jinn and contacting jinn. So I just thought that was wild and strange. And even Umar Johnson is into that magic stuff. Shout out to him for acquiring the building for the FDMG Academy. That's a big step. Shout out to him for that. But in one of his videos, he said he was initiated into the Ifa order. If you look up Ifa and its beliefs and practices, you will see it involves calling onto your ancestors, which are really jinn. It involves seeing God in everything. When Allah is not in his creation, Allah is above his creation. He is above his throne. And his throne is on top of heaven. So Allah is above all things. He doesn't dwell inside of things. But like I said, congrats to him on his school. I just found that interesting. He definitely speaks truth to power when it comes to the black condition and issues in America. And that's really what I listen to him for. He's a scholar, I would say. But speaking of scholars, I just I have a curious question. Being a Muslim, I'm just a layman. I read the Quran, I ask Allah for guidance. But why are scholars of Islam still saying Nike is okay? I mean, I don't understand it. It's just weird to me. Nike is the name of a god. Some say the god of victory, some say the god of war. And the Nike symbol, allegedly represents his wings. And so the scholars of Islam be talking about how, well, it's fine because you don't see it as that. So, you can buy them. So if I'm living, let's say I'm living in Mecca, at the time where at the time where Islam was revealed, the final Islam was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I become a Muslim, and then I'm walking past idols outside, and I just throw money at the idol, and then when people ask me, what are you doing? You know that's an idol, right? You shouldn't be putting money on that idol, and I say, well, I don't really believe in that idol. I'm just putting money there. I don't really believe in it. That looks hypocritical. That don't look right. That looks hypocritical. Now, it's a difference now if somebody held a gun to my head and told me to drop down on my knees and worship this God. If a person was being oppressed at that point and they felt like they had to do that to save their life and they just spoke it with their tongue, or you know what I'm saying, they didn't mean it in their heart, then that's fine. If somebody needs new shoes and all you have is Nikes left and you want to give it to them for charity, that's fine. If you're a poor person and the only shoes your mom could afford was Nikes, that's fine. But if you're a person who has a decent amount of money and living and you could choose what shoes you want to choose, why are they allowing you to say Nikes are fine to wear? That don't make sense. I don't wear Nike products. I stopped wearing Nike products like 10 years ago. For real, for real. Because I don't see the point in it. There's so many shoes and companies out here that don't have a name of a God on them. And I'm not gonna deal with it. And people could say, well, some of these people, is racist. Well, if they come out as racist, then I'm gonna do my best to boycott them as well. But if they gonna keep that inside themselves and I don't know nothing about it, I'm gonna keep buying their products until something is revealed about it. And then we have Muslims and black people who can make their own products. So at the end of the day, even if we still have our own people to go to get products from. So there's no reason why we should be supporting Nike. That don't make sense. And I seen on Twitter, I think it was last week, somebody had this long thread about, are you a Muslim who doesn't pray? And they were saying, yeah, I know how hard it is not to make salah and the world gets to you. Well, don't start praying right away. Try this way. Start making more dhikr, because that's the reason you can't pray, because you're not making enough dhikr. So start making dhikr first, and then once you start making more dhikr, remembrance of Allah, then that'll push you to do your salah, and then you'll finally start praying. It sounds cool, but that's not how it works. I came from being a non-Muslim. I came from being, the Arabic word is kafir. I know some people don't like that word, but that's the word Allah uses in the Quran. So that's the word I'm going to use. It means one who covers the truth. One who knows the truth and covers it up. Or one who has the truth and covers it up. We know that only Allah deserves to be worshipped alone. God deserves to be worshipped alone. So I came from being a non-Muslim to being a Muslim. And as soon as I became a Muslim, I started praying. I didn't say, well, it's so hard to pray and life is so hard and I got so much responsibilities. As soon as I couldn't wait to start making salah. I remember when I became a Muslim and my dad told me, you got to pray 5 times a day. Like, he was telling me that it takes discipline. It takes discipline to be a Muslim. That's what he was reminding me of. And I was ready for that. I was like, that's cool. I couldn't wait to start making salah when I became a Muslim. So how are you gonna sit up here and tell me, you who supposedly are a Muslim, now it's just so hard for you to make salah? No, that's an obligation. Dhikr, just sitting around and saying subhanallah, alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, those are not obligations. Those are sunnahs. You have to do the obligations first. What does Allah say in his hadith Qudsi? He says, my servant doesn't come closer to me except by the obligations first. And then the sunnah brings him even closer to me. So you have to do the obligations first. You can't say, well, I'm just going to make dhikr until I feel like starting to make salah again. No, that's a cop-out. That's just allowing the shaitan to overpower you. Because if the shaitan can't make you do real extreme evil deeds, you're already missing salah. That's evil of itself. But if the shaitan can't push you, he'll try to use good deeds to make you miss out on the obligation. So he'll say, well, hey, just do your dhikr. That's good enough, You don't have to make salah, because he knows salah is an obligation and salah will give you strength over him. So don't fall for that. If you're a Muslim who doesn't pray, the way to remedy that is to start praying. Period. That's it. Stop being lazy and get up off your butt and start praying, because I guarantee you got 5 minutes to be able to make salah. And if you're busy in your day, and especially over here in the Western world, where we don't have mosques everywhere like they do in the in the Middle East and in the East, where you don't have a government who's a Muslim government, who the whole nation, you hear the adhan go off and the whole nation basically prays at the same time. Since we don't have that over here in the West, you're allowed to combine your salah. You can combine Dhuhr and Asr, and you can combine Maghrib and Isha. So there's no excuse for you really to be missing your salah. Stop the cop-out. And one last thing I wanted to mention about was this whole, it's sickening to me, bruh. This white privilege thing. What the heck? People will come up with anything to be lazy. Weight privilege. They're saying, well, because you're slim and fit, you get a privilege over me. You get to looked at you're looked at as more healthy and more better of making wise decisions. You daggone right. Quit trying to use no. See, that's what I mean. That's that's that that's that that's that feminine energy stuff, man. Feminine energy is based on emotions. So if something makes you feel wrong, then it's wrong. So you feel wrong because people look at you like you don't have self-control because you're obese. But they're right. Just because you feel wrong about it don't mean they're wrong. But see, that's that feminine energy stuff. Since I feel wrong about what you're saying about me, then it's wrong and it's weight privilege. I shouldn't have to lose weight. I respect you as an individual regardless, whether you're super obese or whether you're super skinny and anorexic. I will respect you as an individual. But at the same time, do you respect yourself? If you're obese, that's not healthy. And 9 times out of 10, I hate when people say it, but 9 times out of 10, the reason you're obese is because you're lazy. And that don't mean lazy as in you don't go to work every day. You know what I'm saying? You don't keep your house clean. You don't, not lazy as in that. You're lazy in self-discipline of controlling what you eat, controlling how much you eat. 9 times out of 10, the reason people are overweight is because they have a surplus of calories and they're not in a calorie deficit. They have a sedentary lifestyle and they have a surplus of calories. 90% of the time, that's what it is. The prophet talked about how the non-Muslim, he eats in 7 stomachs, meaning he's just constantly eating, always eating, always eating, always eating. What do you think that's going to produce? That's going to produce obesity. That's going to produce poor health problems. And people will say, just because I'm obese don't mean I'm not healthy. You might not be unhealthy yet, but if you're obese long enough, rest assured that that unhealthiness is coming. Rest assured that diabetes is in your future, heart failure is in your future, heart attack is in your future, high blood pressure is in your future. So the prophet said that now a Muslim eats in 7 stomachs. That means they're constantly always eating. They're never full. You know, they're constantly eating. That's going to produce obesity. So obesity is not something that a sincere believer should have a problem with, because the prophet also said the believer, he eats 1/3 for food, 1/3 for liquid, 1/3 for air. And if he needs more food than that because he's doing strenuous activity, then he'll eat a little bit more. But he eats enough to keep his back strong to be able to do the work he needs to do, which is basically saying you eat moderately, considering what type of work you do, which means controlling your calories, which means discipline. So one of the things of a hypocrite, one of the signs of hypocrisy is someone being overweight. It's not a good thing to be overweight. That doesn't mean, you know, everybody has some fat on them. Everybody has fat on them. But once you go to a point where you're overweight and you can't walk up a flight of steps, or it's hard, your knees is giving out because of your overweight, that's a problem. So that whole weight privilege thing, that really makes me angry, because it's encouraging laziness and it's encouraging that being obese is okay. And that's why you have in America, we're one of the most obese nations in the world, one of the most unhealthy nations in the world, because of such things like this. But that's all I wanted to say, y'all. Hopefully I'll be back again next week, inshallah, with another audio essay for y'all. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share. If you want to donate, you know, the link will be in the description as well. Until next week, inshallah, this has been Muslim and Black in America, M.A.B.I.A, with your host, Bilal Abdullah, and I'm out. Peace.